Scotland, a land with a long history of kings and queens, nobles and warlike clans. A land, too, whose sons and daughters have spread far and wide across the world in search of freedom and adventure. A land, furthermore, that calls its sons and daughters back with a voice that speaks of tradition and an ancient culture. Let's discover Scotland. Scotland's position in the northwest corner of Europe made it the last resort of the Picts and the Celts, the original tribes of Britain, as wave after wave of Angles and Saxons came northward from Europe. The last frontier between the ancient tribes and the hordes from the south was here, in the border country between Scotland and England. The borders were sought out centuries later by modern-day invaders of a different kind. A difference between the laws of England and of Scotland meant that it was possible to be married here in the old blacksmith shop at Gretna Green without parental consent at a much younger age than in England. The laws have changed now, but a light-hearted ceremony commemorates the old days.
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
I wish.
I wish.
It was time.
It was time.
To go to bed. From the laws of Scotland, you're no husband and wife. Kiss the bride. Make you smile and Scotland and up your kilt with a wire brush.
But not the really old days. They were filled with strife and the roar of battle. Nearby, Hermitage Castle is just one of a chain of broken strongholds that suffered repeated sieges for nearly 300 years, until it finally fell in 1640. Now its ruins bear silent testimony to the love of a people for their land. And what a land! Around every corner, over every hill, lies another scenic marvel. The Grey Mare's tail falls 200 feet into an area known as Moffat Water. Surrounding it are the beauties of Solway, the southern shore where sturdy villages sit among rolling, fertile farmland. Monks came here from England to build their abbeys, such as Sweetheart Abbey, founded in 1273 by Queen Devorgilla as a lasting memorial to her beloved husband. New Abbey Village, which grew up around the abbey, boasts a fully functional watermill. There has been a mill here on the stream called Sheep Burn since medieval times, though this one is barely 200 years old. The population is sparse over these rich acres and the climate mild, moderated by the broad expanse of the Solway Firth. The area is much loved today by the sailing fraternity, as well as by the farmers who benefit from the generosity of the soil. Threave Castle is another of the ruins that bear testimony to the ferocity of that love. It was built in the 14th century in the reign of King David II of Scotland. The town of Kirkcudbright is home to many artists, enchanted by the quiet beauty of what has been called the Venice of Scotland. To the west, Port Patrick never quite became the busy port its builders intended. Eastward of Kirkcudbright, the land border with England was easy to cross, and for centuries it was crossed by raiding parties from both directions. The castles bear witness to that. Hermitage Castle can tell a romantic tale, for it was here in 1566 that Mary, Queen of Scots, rode 25 miles across wild moorland to visit her husband-to-be, the Earl of Bothwell, as he lay wounded after a battle. These were the moors that gave Mary the chill that weakened her for the rest of her days. Mary rode out on that raw October morning from Jedburgh, with its beautiful 12th century abbey, which had received its fatal blow from the English only 20 years before. Here, among the purple heather of Teviotdale, are the hills that Sir Walter Scott called the Delectable Mountains, a paradise for walkers. The shape of the landscape comes from its underlying sandstone dotted with drumlins, mounds of boulder clay laid down under the ice sheets 10,000 years ago. The soils of the valley are good, but with a small rise in altitude they give way to moorland, so often a dark and looming background to the gentle lowland scene. The sedate little town of Peebles was burned to the ground by the English in 1545, rebuilt and then burned down again, accidentally, in 1607. Fire played a part in the history of Dryborough Abbey too. It was repeatedly burned by English raiders. What is left today is an elegant testimony to the craftsmanship of its 12th century builders. Within its walls lies buried Sir Walter Scott. These rolling limestone hills clothed in heather were where Sir Walter Scott chose to build his beautiful home, Abbotsford. Finished in 1824, it is the very model of a gentleman's residence of its period. The builders were local men, one of them a skilled sculptor as well as a master builder. John Smith's carvings are one of the beauties of Abbotsford. The library contains a bust of Sir Walter, along with his own reading desk and his collection of about 9,000 books and historic pieces of furniture. In the study hangs the famous painting of the only occasion when young Sir Walter met the famous poet Robert Burns. Sir Walter's writing desk contains 2 secret drawers. In one were found 57 letters exchanged by Sir Walter and his wife before and after their marriage. Flour's Castle nearby never saw any border fighting. It was built as a country house. The 10th Duke of Roxburgh lives here today. Flour's Castle stands just outside the town of Kelso, which itself lies at the junction of the rivers Tweed and Teviot. Today, Kelso's a tidy little town, proud of its floral traditions. But it has known more violent days. Kelso Abbey was another victim of the English in 1545. It was destroyed and its inhabitants slaughtered by the Earl of Hertford, acting for the English crown. Kelso is one of the many border towns that holds an annual common riding. The ceremony dates from the days when it was the responsibility of the townspeople to ride out to protect their boundaries from encroachment by neighbouring towns. The history of the border towns is often tied up with those long past days of violence and military might. Near Lauder in Lauderdale stands Thirlstane Castle, the home of the Maitland family. They live there still, in a home built for them in 1678. The house was remodelled in 1840, but the magnificent ceilings date from the first building. Thirlstane Castle is the site of the Scottish National Horse Trials, reflecting the long tradition of horsemanship and hunting in the borders. The packs of hounds on show here are working dogs, taking a day off from their more serious employment. The jumpers competing in the cross-country are looking for higher honours in Europe and around the world. Beyond Lauderdale on the coast lies the little fishing port of Eyemouth, once the haunt of smugglers, who could easily give the Coast Guard the slip among the narrow alleys of the town. Today it is once more celebrated just for fishing and for the beauty of its setting. North of Eyemouth is St. Abb's Head. Its cliffs are home to colonies of seabirds and clusters of rare and unusual plants. Further up the coast, John Muir Country Park commemorates the most famous son of the little town of Dunbar, the naturalist who was so instrumental in convincing Americans to create national parks. Tantallon Castle, towering above the water, was always said to be the strongest castle in Scotland. Beyond its soaring ramparts lies the Bass Rock. It is the home of the largest colony of gannets in Europe. The closest harbour to the Bass Rock is North Berwick, once a busy fishing port, but today a sleepy little seaside town. In 1591, with the full approval of King James VI of Scotland, the town burned 94 witches and 6 wizards for dancing with the devil. Back inland, the little town of Gifford is typical of the quiet backwaters in this part of Lothian. Despite their turbulent youth, such settlements have reached an old age of tranquility and calm. Some settlements have reached a very advanced old age. There has been a watermill at Preston for more than 500 years, and the present buildings are at least 300 years old.